right, welcome everyone. My name is Valerie Brown Campbell and I am the training manager at zipLOGIX. zipLOGIX is the parent company to and creator and developer of ZipForm Plus. A lot of people know our product by ZipForm. You always tend to add an S on it, and it's actually ZipForm Plus, so it's a singular. I welcome you today. I appreciate your time this afternoon, and I'm going to make it as painless as possible. I want you to be able to see our new platform, which was actually launched. The new rollout of the new look and feel to the ZipForm Plus platform was rolled this year, July 12th. We had a stagnated roll with our product so that, it wasn't as, we didn't roll it to the whole world right off the bat, because how many of you know that technology, as it grows, you find a few little glitches here and there? Have anybody experienced that at all, ever? Okay, yeah. So everybody should have rolled by now, and when I say rolled, I mean everybody should have the new look and feel to the ZipForm Plus environment. How many of you are new to ZipForm Plus? Raise your hand. Hi. Okay. All right. Let me ask this question. How many of you are new as of July 12th? Anybody? Okay. All right. A few of you. All right. Excellent. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to talk about ZipTMS. And let me just right off the bat say this regarding ZipTMS. A lot of people separate it from ZipForm, and it's not. It's an integrated zip platform management system, transaction management system right there within the program. So you don't have to turn anything on, or you don't have to pay extra for it. It's actually incorporated within the platform. You just have to know where to activate it, in that if you set a due date, for example, or if you create a task, guess what? ZipTMS has just become functional. So I'm going to talk about all of that today. A lot of people try to separate it out from ZipForm Plus or make it its own entity. It's not. It really isn't. It is a part of the program. And so now let's delve right in and look at what our objectives are for today's training. I'm going to talk about the benefits of using ZipTMS. If you have yet to do so, we'll talk about what is the benefit? How is it going to benefit you as a user, as a real estate agent, a broker? What does it do? How is it going to make your life a lot easier? We'll talk about that. We'll also look at creating a template, how easy it is to do that. I'm going to use some buzzwords today. Template happens to be one of them. We're going to look at how to add forms, documents, folders, etc., checklists, tasks. And when I talk about checklists and tasks, that again activates ZipTMS right off the bat. So we'll look at how that works. We'll also look at creating a purchase residential transaction. So folks, the actual process is, if you haven't used the template before, is to actually create one. I'll show you how easy that is to do, and then use it to make your life a lot easier, to save you a lot of time. That's the whole purpose and definition, basically, of a template that we're going to talk about today. We will then look at a function within ZipForm platform, which is called email to transaction. Guess what? You can actually have emails sent back into the transaction, okay? And ultimately, that includes not just forms or documents, but it can include an Excel spreadsheet, it can include a PowerPoint, it can include whatever type of document that you want to have emailed back in. What kind of documents do you receive via email? Well, guess what? You can now bring those same documents into the transaction. So we'll look at how easy that is to do. And quite frankly, if you haven't used this function before, it creates its own inbox folder inside the transaction, which whenever you create or bring documents into that particular transaction, they file themselves right into that inbox folder. So we'll talk about and see how easy that is to do. And then finally, guess what? We have a zip community. Has anyone heard of zip community before? That's kind of new. It is the secured environment that is a part of now Zip Form Plus. Zip Community allows for people who are part of the transaction, your sellers, your buyers, your lenders. But then if you don't have a person, or if this particular person is not a part of the transaction, but you would like to invite them into the transaction, you can securely do that. They would be able to create their own account and ultimately be able to collaborate with the agent, with you, the agent, with the buyer, whoever you want to collaborate with within this secured environment. You are able to do that. So I'm going to show you what the Zip community looks like if you have not. So again, this is advanced. This is the new, this is not really new stuff, but it's actually putting a spotlight on features that you may not have known was a part of the platform. That's my job today. All right, so this is where we're going. All in an hour, go figure. So let's start off by talking about the benefits and ultimately the features. Well, we talk about Zip TMS, Transaction Management System, again, embedded within Zip Form Plus. Well, what is it? What's in it for you? What's in it for you? It allows for you to easily create templates, and I'm going to talk more about templates in a moment. What does that do? How does that benefit you? It cuts the redundant tasks down. Where does that hit you? In the pocket, because guess what? Time is money, and we want to save you time. Another feature within Zip TMS, system and customized checklists. The system automatically creates a checklist when we set some due dates. I'll show you how that works. But it also allows you to customize and add to a checklist or create your own type of checklist. We'll talk about what that does. What's the benefit of a checklist? It keeps you abreast of dates. It saves you time as well. Never again do you have to miss a deadline or miss a due date, because you can set your own. The next feature within Zip TMS, it allows for you to easily manage your tasks. How many of you, back in the day, I know I used to live by my calendar, my little planner. Did you have those? Okay, or is it just me? Those lived by the planner. I mean, everything I was writing in my planner. Well, guess what? It kept me on task. It prevented me from missing something. Same here. You can do the same thing. You want to stay on task. What do you need to do? What steps do you need to take? What forms do you need to make sure you have? What documents do you need to make sure are signed? What do you have to do from a processing standpoint, and when do you want to do it? Task, and you're able to set those up in the system. You are also able now to see shortcut launch pads. That's one of the new features behind the new look and feel of Zip Form Plus. We've created launch pads. And let me just stop right here for 1 second. A lot of people say change is bad, or people don't like change. Well, guess what? We didn't just at zipLOGIX say, guess what? We want to make a change in our system. No, we got your feedback. We were hearing from you, the user. We were hearing what you liked and what you didn't like. And that's what drove the new platform. That's what drove, we want to make it simple. That's what drove that. So the new change, you guys asked for it. Whether you knew that or not, I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not bad. It's a good thing. Why? Because we're making it a little bit simple for you to navigate. We're making it a little bit more logical. That was our goal, to make it logical for you as the user. Launchpad shortcuts, convenient, saves time. Lastly, we want to Transaction summary, why is that important? Easy access, what? Saves time. This is a new look and feel of the transaction. Where can I spend my time within the transaction and access everything I need to do within that transaction, and it makes sense. Transaction summary screen, that's what's new. What's the common theme behind all of this? Everybody say it. There you go. Saves time. That's what we want you to do. We want you to be able to save time. Okay, here's where you become active participants in this training. What's a template? Somebody tell me. Something that can be used over and over again for a process. Anybody else? Yes, that is correct. Anybody else? How many of you have heard of the word template? Okay, or should I say, how many of you haven't? Okay, all right, that's fine too. That's fine too. What is a template? That is correct. It is something that can be used over and over again. Here's this buzzword again, time saving. Time saving features which enable you to create a file of forms or other items such as checklists, such as tasks within the template. You can even add people if it's the same person. If it's you, you can add yourself to the template. So I've even seen that being done. It's time saving, eliminates repetitive process. How many of you do the same forms, do the same data entry when you create a residential transaction? Over and over and over again, you do the same thing? Okay. All right. You enter some of the same information? Okay. All right. Are you good typists? I always throw that out there because guess what? I'm not. So if I can create something that I need to or am able to create one time, put all my data in there that is consistent, that I'm going to use over and over and over again, one time, and then be able to pull that into my new transaction and have all of what I need right there. Isn't that time saving? You think? I think so. And it also keeps me from having to type. Anything that's going to keep me from having to type is a good thing. Make time-saving entries into your template documents. You are able to pull in that document into your template, type in what you need to type into it, and ultimately save it. And ultimately, when you use it, that data is already there for you. Time-saving. And then can be used in existing transactions as well as new. So if you go back, if you now decide, okay, tomorrow I'm going, what's today? Friday, okay. Monday, I'm going to create a template, and then I'm going to put all my information in it, and then guess what? I wrote an offer for a client last week. I like this template. I'm going to bring that in. Can you? Yes. Yes, you can. It doesn't have to be a new transaction. Existing transactions. And then can be used as often as you want. Yes, you can. What's a checklist? And these are the last two questions I'm going to ask you. This is your little quiz right off the beginning.
A series of chronological to-dos.
There you go. I like that. Can I have that? Can I have that? A series of chronological to-dos. That's a good one. A checklist contains a list of transaction tasks. There you go, to-dos. Ding, ding, ding. You're right. Checklists within zip form plus are broken into two categories. A system-generated one, which the system automatically does. You're going to see that in 1 second. And then a customized one that you decide you want to create yourself. All right? They can work together. They work all in the same spot. Okay? So here we're going to see the system activate and use both of these types of checklists. All right, enough of that. Enough of the definitions. You've passed. Enough of that. Let's get in and see how this works. How about that, huh? As you know, we still need to sign in using your username and password through your brokerage or association if you go that route, your single sign-on, or through www.zipformplus.com. I'm already logged in, so we're just jumping right over here. This is the new landing page, folks. This is the agent dashboard. So for those of you who are new to ZipForm, this is what you are used to seeing. Why? Because you're new. For those of you who have been with us for a while, this is could be a little bit intimidating. It shouldn't be. Confusing a little bit. No? You say you don't use it? Okay. Well, let me just say this. This is the agent dashboard. And let me just, by the way, this particular bar right here, you're always going to be able to see. This is your navigation bar, and it lets you navigate through the platform quite easily. What is intimidating about this is, especially for new agents, you may come in here and you may see a lot of zeros, or you may not see a lot of the activity that I have on my screen here. That's okay. When you start writing your business, it's wonderful. You will see this populate. And just very quickly and very easily, before we get into templates, which is where I want to go right now, but I just want to show you how this works. How should you see these numbers increase? Well, first and foremost, quarterly sales is going to become 0 every new quarter, okay? So it will go back to a 0 status for that quarter. The beginning of the quarter, as you write business, you will see it. This area here, closed transactions. This is populated. I'm going to click on this little icon right here at the top, and it's going to take me to my list of closed transactions. Well, how should I close a transaction, or what allows me to make that number increase? Well, let me just show you. I'm going to jump right into a transaction here that I have closed, and I'm going to give you the ABC of closing a transaction very quickly. This area that you're looking at right now is the transaction summary screen. That's the area that I just mentioned. This is where you're going to live as it relates to this particular transaction. What we've tried to do with ZipForm is we try to bring everything that you would need to do in a transaction right here and put it in your face at the transaction summary screen. So, what you're seeing right now is you're seeing the agent, you're seeing the property, the property summary of this particular transaction. You're seeing the purchase summary information, and of course this is a demo, so certain things are not completely filled in. But where do you go to close a transaction? Every new transaction you're going to create is going to come in an active status. It will automatically be active, okay? As you work through it, right here in the transaction summary environment is where you're able to adjust the status of that particular transaction. So, what is required actually to show on that dashboard? For a closed transaction, you have to have a purchase price put in there, and you have to have a closing date. Okay? Otherwise, you're not going to see it reflect on your dashboard. So as long as I have a purchase price and a closing date, I can come up here and change my status to close, and it will reflect here. Does that make sense? Okay. Fell through, the exact same thing regarding fell through. If I want my fell through, unfortunately it happens, but if I want my fell through to be reflected there, I click I go into my transaction and notice my status here has been changed to fell through. Okay, what is required for a fell through status? What is required is a listing price. Okay, all right, so I just want to show you what else is a part of this particular agent dashboard. To be able to go into your signature packets that are in progress, that's a part of this. All you have to do is click it. And what constitutes a signature packet in progress? Maybe a particular party has signed off on their section or their forms, and it needs to go to the next party, and they have yet to sign off or complete their portion. That's what puts it in that in progress status. So this lets the agent go right back to that particular, see it right off the bat, go right back to that particular transaction, signing packet, and see the progress of the signing packet, what is being done. And you can see here by this icon that it is in progress. Okay? Yes. Uh-huh.
So that signature packet is out, the signature, what if in fact the other party is not going to sign? I could not figure out how to avoid that because the other parties.
You cannot. You cannot. If you can't. If one party has signed it already, it is. Go ahead, Rhonda. Yes.
So I have the same kind of issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like the signature packets, they're either like red, yellow, or green. To make it, for me, I'm like, okay, I just want it red, because it's never going to be gone.
Right.
So you can go into the signature packet and modify it to
Here's where you would
change the
go.
status, so it doesn't show up as like, because I like to be able to look at it and go, what's out there for signatures?
Right, because it sits there with one
Right.
all the time.
Yeah. It
So
does.
that's what I do, so it helps me stay organized.
So this is how you would get into it. You go into your packet. As you can see, this particular icon here is not a check like this one. This one's done. This one is in progress. I click on this, and this is getting me off a point, but this, to answer your question, I click on this. This goes into view details of the signature packet, and it lets you go right back into it. Come on up. Or mountain. This reminds me of that commercial, right? And it's coming.
While we're waiting, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That's one thing in the old version.
Mhm.
You can go into and void it out. And the new plus version apparently doesn't let us do that. And I'm sorry, but a lot of times we get a no response from the other party.
Right. Well, you know what? When you say void it out, you are able to do that, but it's always going to be there. You cannot delete it, and that's what people want to be able to do. They want to get it out of there, and you can't because somebody else has signed it.
One outstanding, so a year from now I could have 10.
Right.
outstanding signatures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you change that status though, it won't reflect that way. I wish I
Yeah.
know my mind, but it's like, it turns red and then it's not reflected in that status anymore. And if you really wanted to visually, you can create a folder.
And put it away.
Put it away in that folder. And
Right.
it doesn't show up anymore.
Okay, so let's get back on task. I'm here on the dashboard. For those of you who we can talk about that, and I can actually show you. For those of you who are used to seeing the zip form home screen of your transactions, seeing it all in all your transactions in the home screen, that is right here, folks. It is the transaction link. And this shows you kind of similar to what you're used to seeing when you log into your ZipForm Plus platform. These are all my transactions. So just because you land on the dashboard doesn't mean that you cannot go to where you're used to seeing your transaction. It's right next to the dashboard link. I'm going to come over here to templates because this is where I wanted to focus a lot of my attention today, is on the templates. Now, you'll notice that this, for those of you who have worked with templates, this is an area that houses your templates. The R represents the type of template that this particular template is. It's a residential. I have the color codes, and the coding is the system generated. This particular C is a commercial template. This I is an industrial template. This is a vacant land template. So I have a number, as you can see, I have a number of residential templates that I have created. So let's look at how easy it is. I was talking about time saving, how easy it is to create a template. The first thing that you want to do is come into 3 tabs over, click on your template. It will open this area up, and you have your button that says New. It's the right underneath your navigation, the very first button on the toolbar. It is New. If I click on New, this is an example of the latest, greatest launch pads that we have added to the platform. This is an example. So now it's telling me what type of template do you want to create here. Right at the very beginning of my process, it's letting me determine what type of template this is going to be. So I'm going to create, let's just say, a new listing. A new listing template. I'm going to click on the house here, and it opens up an area that many of you are already familiar with. So that launch pad was the only additional thing that we added at the very beginning to determine what type of template this is going to be. When you're creating a template, you want to make sure that you name it properly. You want it to be a name that when you look at it in that whole slew of other templates, you'll be able to recognize it and pull it in really quickly. So your naming is very important. As you can see, I have created an ORF Purchase Residential template just for this training. But naming is important. You want to name your template appropriate according to what is in it. Residential, you have to identify what property type you want your template to be. This area is what determines the coding here. Okay, residential. Here's industrial. Here's vacant land. Here's commercial. So when you select what property type, that's what determines what the color code is going to be on the template. The agent, you are the agent. You are the driver of this particular template. If by any chance you were a part of a brokerage or you were a multi-user or had a multi-user account, you could possibly have a global access to global templates, or actually create a global template that would be used across the brokerage.
Different on iPad?
I'm sorry?
That screen is different on iPad?
Is it different on an iPad? No, it isn't. Actually, in our mobile environment, depending on the size of your iPad or your mobile device, it is the same. You're still going to have the same information. It may just be in a different position, but you are going to have this particular screen. Are you working with me? Yep. Do you see it? Do you see template information window? Okay. So your icons may be a little bit different in a different position depending on the size of your mobile device. But this is a part of the mobile environment as well. You are also able to determine if this template is automatically going to be applied to your transaction. So you can set that up. Templates, folks, can be built on top of other templates. So you are not restricted even in creating a new template. You have the ability to build on top of an existing template that you may have created in the past. All right, so that is how, and I'm just going to type this in. This is a listing, residential. just to show you what happens when you click on Save. So when you're creating a template, you've just created the name, you've determined that it is an agent template, it comes in with a blank slate. You are now able to begin to add whatever forms you need to build this template out. Yes?
On January 1st, does it update or do we need to create new templates with the new forms?
You do not need to create new templates. You are going, when you say does it update, your templates are going to follow you throughout.
Right, but if I'm still using a template that I set up in 2015, are the forms?
The forms are automatically updated in the template, yes. It is not going to update the form if you've used the template in the previous automatically until you click on it. It will let you know, the system will let you know if you have a transaction that is that has an outdated template within it. And it will let you, update it at that point. But whenever a template is updated as far as the forms are concerned, it's an automatic, yes. Okay, so I just want to show you that this is where you would come. This is how you would build out your template. You have the ability to have, and I know this is small for some of you to see in the back, you have the ability to add documents, add folders here. You have the ability to come over to the right-hand side of your screen, which is most likely where you would begin to pull your forms from. Your forms library is over to the right, and you are able to access the various form libraries that you may have available to access. It's very easy to just simply click and bring your form right into the template. It's just that simple. Remember I said, once you pull in a form, and I just grabbed that form, I wasn't even looking at what I clicked on, but once you pull in a form, you are able to open that form, and if in fact there is any information that you want to add right into this form that is consistent, will be unchanging information like your name, your address, your brokerage, your office, whatever that is unchanging, you can type it right into the form and it will automatically be a part of the template. I want now to go out and show you a template I created for this training, or if purchase residential. Before I do that, any questions on how easy it is to just create a new template? Yes.
To the ones we created in the old system.
Uh-huh.
If you created those templates, like before when the forms updated, you get the notification on the screen to populate, you have to replace those forms manually.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that on the
No.
new system. So if if we switched over the screens to the new system and our templates are there, will they automatically populate?
They will automatically update. Yes, if you are using new templates and they have the forms in the templates have been updated or are new forms, it will be an automatic update.
That we populated that carry over, will those automatically update as well?
When it prompts you that you have old forms, you will be able to see that prompt. It will automatically show up when you open that particular transaction. It will say, this transaction has old forms. And it will list those forms that are old, and you will be able to then update it at that point. You just click on the button. Mm-hmm. There was another question regarding, yes?
You meant that the template will update, not transactions.
Right, well, if the template is being used in the transaction, you open the transaction. If that particular transaction has old forms because you've added, they've been added via the template, if they have old forms in the template and you've added that template to that transaction, I go back into the transaction, I get a prompt that says, this transaction has outdated forms. It's looking at the forms, it's looking.
If the transactions have been signed, the documents have been signed, that's not.
But you might have 20 forms in the transaction, half of which you already signed, half of which you haven't gotten to. And the second half are
That's
alternate.
okay. The ones that are signed will not update.
No, those are legal documents. Those cannot. but the system will recognize that there are old forms within that template, giving you that notification, so to speak, that visual that, oh, I need to update this. Yes.
I know we can add non-OREC forms, like our office-specific forms, into the transaction. Can we add that into a template?
Yes, you sure can. Basically, folks, I want you to, anything that you can virtually do with the transaction, think of it as being translated into the template. Because from the template standpoint, just like you saw when creating a new template, if I go into this particular template, look at what I'm able to do. I have my Add Documents button right here, which takes me out into opening up documents from my computer, bringing those in, accessing my cloud provider information. If I had documents in Google Drive, I can bring those in. So you still have the same capability that you would have in creating a transaction. You are now able to bring it into the template. Okay? So yeah, this is great. Here's where you can add your forms as well. All right, so let me go and open this particular template. And what I want to show you is what I've done. I've actually brought in the ORF cover sheet. I've brought in, you know, I was just kind of pulling information in. And this particular template is a residential purchase template. So I have a lead-based paint. I have an Oregon real estate agent disclosure pamphlet here. I have a home inspection report placeholder that I'm able to create. I put in a photos folder here as a part of my template. I even, folks, look, created a checklist. So,
Go back to the placeholder. How did you create the placeholder?
the placeholder is a part of your Add Documents. So if I open this Add Documents, here's where you have Create a Placeholder. Okay? So now, we talked about, at the beginning, we talked about a system-generated checklist and a customized checklist. A system-generated checklist is one that the system automatically creates. A customized checklist is one that you are able to add to and create yourself. Let's see how both of those are activated within this particular template. Right? I'm on the forms or the documents tab here in my template. Right to the right of that, I have a button that will open up a checklist. Okay? Now, this particular checklist, I want to show you how to do both. Have the system begin to build this, and then have you begin to add on to it. Let's go back to the documents. You saw that there was nothing in that checklist, right? As soon as I come here to set due date, and guess what? This is still the template. I am setting a due date. Let's just say I want to set a due date for the lead-based paint disclosure, and I'm just using this as an example. I'm going to set a due date. I want it to be relative. I don't want to set a fixed due date because this is a template. So I'm going to create a relative date here. And let's just say I want my lead-based paint disclosure. Give me something. When do you normally get that? Anybody? 5 days, what'd you say? Right before the contracts? Okay, so if I said how many days before or after, I have the ability to set a before and after date. Come on, I want some participation here. What would you say?
What's the next drop-down menu?
That's going to, okay, listing date. It gives you your contractual date options. So closing date, date of contract, offer date. What is it? Okay, how many days before or after? 10 days after? 10 days after what? Date of contract, right?
So you deliver it though.
Okay, we're setting a due date as to this is a part of the agent's working process. So we want to make sure the agent is, what would you say here?
So this alerts, these due dates are just, it's gonna send you some kind of notification or alert. It doesn't like, it's not automatically sent.
No, it's not automatically sending. It's putting, this is on your to-do list, agents. This is your to-do.
Individual basis.
Uh-huh.
Like some of us, like I want to be notified 3 days for me to accept this.
Okay, so let's do that. 3 days what? You said 3 days? Okay, let's do that. Let's use that as an example. 3 days after date of acceptance, offer date of acceptance. There you go. I just wanted to get something in here so that you could see it. So that particular due date now has been applied to this lead-based paint disclosure. And look at what happened when I click back on the checklist. It begins to build. So that is a part of the system-generated checklist, okay? It automatically, when you set your due dates, folks, the system automatically pulls it into a checklist for you. So now, let me just show you how easy it is to create a new checklist. And let's just call this checklist my to-do list. And I'm going to save this. It comes down, it begins. Now this is my custom checklist. So I can begin to build on top of what the system is doing. So this is my to-do checklist. I'm going to, let's just change the category to buyer, what the buyer needs to do. I can add a color to this particular item on my checklist just to kind of differentiate it from the system generated checklist. And now I'm able to click here and create my task. So let's just say I want to schedule a property inspection. I'm doing all this typing and not even doing anything. Just to show you, okay? So again, this is a relative due date. I'm going to just say 5 days after, let me just say acceptance, date of acceptance. I am able to assign this to a party if I wanted to. From an agent standpoint, I am able to notify responsible parties when it's due. I am able to create that this is a requirement. This is a required task on my to-do list, and I can add any documents or comments to this task that I want. I have just created or begun to create a custom part of this checklist. So that's an example of both the system-generated checklist and the customized checklist working in tandem in one template. Yes?
So I've already created checklists like your to-do, like the customized one. And then I either didn't notice or it was for the function of the documents. So can I attach, is there a way to link the two? Does that make sense? To a checklist that I've already created. So let's say on a checklist I created, I said, seller disclosures back within 5 days. And that's on my customized one. But currently it's not on my template document. Is there a way to connect so it links with the document and
The template?
and the checklist that I've already created?
Yes.
Without it duplicating.
Or without you adjusting, do you want it to be a part of the template?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So when you go back into that template and go back into your checklist, then that's where you are able to add your document at that point. you can go right back in and customize or add to that particular checklist that is being a part of that template.
And then, but if I set a due date on that form, right, like you showed us a few minutes ago, see how it creates a whole nother checklist?
This is a document or a system generated checklist, yes.
So it will duplicate it if I already have it in there under my customers.
It will change, if you have this particular document and you go into set due date under this particular document, it will update. It will not duplicate. And I just need to add, yeah, we need to talk about that. So this is how you are able to create your checklist. I'm going to go back. This is still the template, folks. I'm going to go back to my template. You'll notice that there's no saving. Once you've done it, it's done. It's a done deal. There's no save button that you have to click on. I'm going to go back to my documents now, and I am done. I am done with my template. I just want to show you also, before I get out of this, that I have in fact included information in the particular transaction cover sheet that is unchanging. So this is what I was saying earlier about typing your information into the form that you won't have to type again, because now using this template, it will automatically bring this data in to my transaction. Let's add it now to the transaction. I don't want to run out of time here. Okay, so now what is a part of this template really quickly? We have our forms that we've added. I have added a placeholder here. I have created a folder where I want to bring in my pictures and file them away really nicely. All of this is a part of this template. I'm going to go back to my dashboard and set the scenario. Here's the scenario, folks. My buyer called me last night, excited. Just got an offer for a new position in Maryland. Okay? Need to, I know, it's just Maryland. Okay, need to find a home, saw some things, went out there online, saw some things, very interested, wants to create make an offer. They very limited time to get out there, relocate, get established, get their home, the whole nine. All right, I'm coming in as the agent. I just logged into my ZipForm Plus account and I'm here on my dashboard. I need to start this process. Over here to the right, I have my create a new transaction button. I click on that. Does this look familiar? Yes, it does. This is the new launch pad for determining what type of transaction I am going to create. Well, here again, this looks almost exactly like what you just saw when creating the template. I'm going to click here on new purchase or offer. All right, so now I am here. I need to give this this transaction a name. This is the new transaction. Well, guess what? I'm going to, just for time's sake, I'm going to go out and use my MLS Connect. And I'm going to jump over here. I clicked on my MLS button. I'm going to jump here. I'm going to go to my MLS in Maryland and put in the listing ID for my MLS. I want the system to do the work for me. I don't want to have to do all the typing myself. So I'm going to pull that listing that my client was interested in putting an offer on, let the system go out and find it, and ultimately it has brought in this information with the picture. Excellent. I'm going to use this listing. So it comes back to my transaction information screen. Well, I still need to give this transaction a name. I'm going to name it the same as the property that I just pulled, okay? Just very quickly here. All right, so, and this is false. Okay, so what is this? What type of transaction is this? This is a residential. Could I bring in that, that template right here? I very well could. Yes, I could. I don't want to do it right now because I want to show you how powerful the transaction summary screen is. But here's my template, my list of templates that I can select from. If I wanted to put some comments about this transaction, I'm able to do that. I'm going to just go ahead and click on Save to save the transaction. Now this should be familiar, folks. This brings you right into the transaction summary screen. So everything now that is related to this particular transaction, you are able to get to very easily, very systematically, because you're now in the transaction summary screen. Remember I said I didn't want to pull in that template yet because I wanted to show you how easy it is to pull from here. Over here to my right, apply template. You're always able to apply a template right into the transaction from this area. Whether you did it initially or not, you have the ability to pull it in from here. I'm going to go ahead and select the ORF Purchase Residential. Now, again, stick with me. Yeah, this is a property in Maryland, but I just wanted to show you I did create the ORF template. It shows up at the top, template successfully added to my transaction. All right, so let me show you here. I'm in the transaction summary screen, and now a lot of you are saying, it's so much. I mean, what do we do? What have you changed? You've changed so much. It really is not. This is the logical now progression of working this transaction. I am in the transaction summary screen. I'm at home. When I want to add my parties to this transaction, I'm able to do that moving left to right on this toolbar. I have my parties. I'm able to now, buyer 1, buyer 2, I have all of the different people that I could add to this transaction just by clicking on their role here. Now, I'm still moving down the toolbar. I have my documents button. This is familiar. Where did these documents come from? The template. If I open up this file, my form, do I have my information? Yes, I do. Do I not only have my information that I put into the template, but I also have...
Why they don't add the address and all the information there?
Do what now?
Why is no add in this cover all the information you already bring, the property information?
Why didn't they add the property? Okay. The property information is added right here.
No, not for the listing of buyer, for the property is going to sell. You already
That I'm buying.
it's you're buying for the information. The property you are going to buy should be added immediately over there. Yes.
This is where it's bringing it into. This is the listing broker, and here is the property information. It is right here. That's okay. It's right here. The listing broker information came in from the MLS, and so did the property information. So it's right here. And guess what? I didn't have to type it, so that's a good thing. All right. So if I were to do this from a logical progression, though, I would have added my buyer before I even looked over here. But, you know, I can go back and I can add my buyer. Buyer 1, I'm going to go ahead and add from this launch pad. You are able to include parties from your cloud providers, from your transaction forms. If you want it, if they're already a part of the transaction, you're able to see that. You're able to come in from your zip form address book. You're able to add your party from here, and that's what I'm doing. I'm adding my party to this transaction, and notice when I do that, if I go back to my form, I'm going back to my, here's my party. So folks, the whole point of this is showing you using the template brings those forms in. It allows for you to do easy entry, data entry using your transaction summary sheet. I can pull in the information. I can add whatever information here that I need regarding the summary, the purchase summary. Listing information came in from the MLS. The recent activities keeps track of everything that is being done within this transaction. And I have everything right here in this one location that I can get to. That's logical within the building of this, this workflow. So, notice, remember I talked about how to change statuses. Notice that this particular transaction is, the status is active, and when I work through it, I am able to change the status here, and that is ultimately how it's going to be reflected on my dashboard. All right, any questions on that? Now, what I'm looking at the objectives here, I'm right here in my transaction. Remember I talked about how to create a template, how to add the template, the importance of the template itself. As far as the next objective in the training, remember I talked about how to bring a transaction or email to a transaction. That here is the button to do that. If I want to email forms into my transaction, I am able to do that, or have forms emailed to my transaction. How does that work? I'm going to click on this button right here in the transaction summary screen. It opens up this email to transaction pane. This particular link here is the link that will allow the information to be brought back into this transaction. It's an automatic, okay? Here's where you have the ability to compose your email to your client. I'm going to click on that. Send to the recipient. I'm going to send, let me just say I want to send this email to Pamela Price, who is the wife of Alex Price. I just added Alex to this transaction as my buyer. So I'm going to click on zipLOGIX contacts. Pamela is part of this contacts area. I'm going to bring Pamela's email in, okay, and enter a subject. Pamela, please attach the document we discussed. I have the ability to create another additional information for the comments. If I want, I'm going to go ahead and click on send. This is going to send Pamela an email. Email sent successfully. I'm going to get to my email so that we can see what Pamela receives. Get to my email. Pamela is going to receive very quickly. Training Pamela. Please attach the documents. This is Pamela's inbox. Pamela, I just sent this to Pamela. It says send documents to the zipLOGIX transaction. It automatically identifies the name of the transaction, and then it gives me a link so that Pamela can click on this link and notice the transaction links enters the to field, and Pamela can say, here are the documents. So now, Pamela's going to attach her files that she wants me to look at, a home inspection report and a transaction or training resource. Let's just say those 2 files. We can talk next week. This is going to send off to the transaction. Now remember I said you are able to have any type of form or file added as an attachment and it will come into your transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and send this back. And it will take just a few moments for that inbox to create in the transaction. Let me get out of this and back to my zipLOGIX. Now, again, it's going to take a few moments for that to come in to my documents area. While we wait for that, though, let me show you how easy it is to add pictures or add to my, my transaction. This is my new transaction. I'm going to go up here and click on the Add Docs button. Click on Add Docs. I'm going to browse my computer. Now this was one of the questions. I'm going to browse my computer for the pictures that I want to bring in to this particular transaction. And here I'm on my computer now. I'm grabbing the pictures and I'm going to bring them in to the transaction. Just like that. And that's from your Add Docs button. Add Docs allows for you to go out and add any documents to outside of the forms to your transaction.
Emailing in the old system, it has little boxes where you can check specific documents that you wanted to email because we use DigiSign, so we have to email docs to ourselves and then pull them into DigiSign and give them into the PDF format. So how do you do that going in this system? Because I don't see a way to email those.
Emailing documents is right here. Let me pull these into the folder just by dragging and dropping these over into my folder. I am organizing myself very nicely. Okay, so I have added those pictures into my folder. Now the question on the floor was, how do I email documents? There's a button right here in your docs and it says email. Okay? And here's your email and you are able to select your documents from here. Okay? And then you have your next and it will send you through the process. Now, let me cancel out of this email. But I also want to now show you folks how to, and that folder is still coming, I haven't forgotten, how to, here's your other way of email doc or fax. You have your fax documents here. You have the ability to do that. Let's now go to the Zip community, and that was the last thing on my list. I wanted to show you how that works. And while we're doing that, the inbox is creating in this transaction. This button right here, still in the same transaction, over to the right on this launch pad is your Share Docs. Now, the difference between this and what we did with the email to transaction is some people say that this is the secured method of being able to collaborate with your agent and share documents within the transaction. Private share. Private share is what you would create, and we do have a public share as well, but private share is what you would create. I would click here on the private share. It does the same thing as far as email to transaction, allowing you to pull the person's email address that you want to share with. This I'm going to go and still share with my same person, Pamela. Let me just say, this is another method, but this is a more secure method because how many of us have had email breaches? Not a lot, but guess what? It's in the news. You know, people are really kind of skittish now about emailing documents out. So this is a very secure environment as far as going into the community and locking it down within zip form. So I'm adding Pamela, all right? The beauty behind this is I am able to allow Pamela access or permissions. Do I want Pamela to be able to edit forms? I can give her permission to do that, yes or no. Do I want Pamela to be able to upload forms to this transaction? I am able to set that as a yes or no. Do I want Pamela to be able to view the history of this transaction? Maybe not, so I'm going to keep that for no. But then I have the ability to set Pamela's permission to collaborate with me a certain date. How long do I want Pamela to be able to have access to sharing these forms? Well, guess what? I have the ability to set that as a date. What is today? Today is the 6th. Let's say I'm going to give Pamela till Wednesday the 11th to collaborate with me on what the forms that we need to talk about. I'm going to click on the next button here. I'm giving her permissions. Now it goes into my transaction and lets me pick the actual documents that I want her to collaborate with me on. So this is within the transaction itself, the documents that I want her to collaborate. Down at the bottom, lower right corner, it says send and save. So now it's going to send Pamela an invitation to come into this transaction and collaborate with me. So I'm going to click on send and save. Of course, Pamela has to have a legitimate email address, which right here, I brought her in. Her email address is there. This is the subject line that she's going to see. And then it has ability for me to type as an agent. We need to collaborate on these forms. All right, I'm going to click the send. The share invitation sent to Pamela Price is successful. These are the two forms that I have added to the collaboration. Notice Pamela is the person that I am collaborating with. I could add another person or other people and add different forms to them for this particular transaction. I'm not limited to just one person. Over here to the right, whenever I decide as the agent I want to stop the collaboration, I have the ability to do that. It doesn't even have to be that date that I've established. I can always stop the collaboration at any point. So I'm going to start it back up. Let's go off and see what Pamela received in her inbox. Pamela's getting a lot of mail from me. All right. So Pamela, notice this email. This one says, training, zip form, Pamela, collaboration invitation. So Pamela gets in her email not a document or not a link, but an actual invitation to jump into Zip Community and have access to the files at that point. This is what makes it secure. Only Pamela has access to this, okay? Pamela is able to come in. She says, view documents. Here's where the link is to Pamela. Here's the agents. View documents. I have just jumped out of zip form, folks. I'm totally out of zip form now, and I'm into Zip Community. I'm out of zip form and into the community. Let me Refresh. And Pamela is going to be able to see her documents. Let me go back. And
Is this one that would be really like a good way for them to do property disclosures when there's all those boxes to check?
yes, anytime that there's information that you want to be able to talk through with your client, you have the ability to. There you go. All right. So here. So now, what if Pamela, or what if you are sending this to somebody who doesn't have a Zip Form Plus account? Can you do that? Yes. Because this creates allows that person to create a whole new user account within Zip Form. They don't even have to be a Zip Form user. Okay? Pamela happens to have a Zip Form account, so I'm going to go ahead and log in as her, Pamela Price, just to show you what she's able to see and what she's able to do. I'm now in as Pamela. Those are the documents that I'm seeing. That's the Agent Jane. You'll see Pamela's name is up in the upper left or right corner. Agent Jane. I am Pamela right now. I am in my Zip form. Agent Jane just sent me these forms. I'm able to now go in and look at them, open them up, edit them, because I've been given editing privileges, do whatever I need, and I'm collaborating with Agent Jane on these forms. So I'm back in Agent Jane now. So let's just say, if I'm Pamela, I'm in my documents, I'm in my collaboration area, I'm able to add a document. Okay, Pamela, what do you want to add? Oh, Agent Jane, guess what? Here's a file that I want you to look at. Designated buyer, this is a file I want you to look at, Agent Jane. Okay, you've just added that, Pamela. Guess what? I'm over here. I'm back in Agent Jane. I've just refreshed. All right, there we go. And I am back in Collab. And there's the document that Pamela just added to Agent Jane to look at. So I can go back and forth with my client, and it's not through email. It's in Zip Community. Okay? Not only that, did you see the option to chat, by the way? If I need to say something to Pamela, I am able to go in to there is a chat function. Oh, let me see. Oh, where is my inbox? The inbox folder should have shown up by now. But guess what? Technology at its finest, right? I have that. Save. I'm going to go back to, here's Pamela. I'm in Pamela's email or Zip Community. Pamela wants to invite me into a chat session, okay, because she has some things that she wants to talk to me about. So I click on New. I'm in Pamela. Who does Pamela want to talk to? Agent Jane, okay? So it sends Agent Jane I'm able to add. Guess what, Agent Jane? We can chat now. All right, and I know I am pretty out of time. I've shown you quite a bit, and I will be around for questions and comments and talking, later on. I'm here. If you want to hang out, we can do that. Question?
So now that we're storing a whole bunch of things on here, is there a storage limitation?
Is there a storage limitation? There is no storage limitation. However, it still has the retention policy in effect. So the retention dates are still, according to your retention policy, your state retention policy is how long we're going to store the transactions within the system. That hasn't changed. But no, there is no limit. When the retention date hits, you will receive a notification 30 days prior to the system deleting or removing that documentation. But that hasn't changed. That's always been there. Any other questions regarding that? What do you think about Zip Community? Could you see a benefit of the private, being able to really kind of communicate with your agent back and forth and share information, not via email, but within this system, and being able to add and just collaborate? That's the whole point.